It's messed with my mind. I don't. Sorry.
A new luxury car is available to win. Stop by and have a try at the Lucky Wheel.
The shack.
But then the whole, like, you know.
But,
yeah.
The race is open and the horses are running at the inside track. Stop by and play.
No, because she's done, okay, right. She's done more good. She's done more good. She's done more good.
Next question in the
Done.
room.
But I do think she was smart. I do think she did give the odd, maybe the potential blowjob, and then realised, no, I don't know. No, I'm going against that. But so that was.
so she's a reformed blowjob.
No, yeah. But the good she did about, like, you know, because that's ridiculous. The whole paedophile law. So when anyone's on the show page and they're struggling, I say just see the scales. Nothing we can do about the homophobia. So if you're really struggling, see that on the one side of the scales, see the good. And in your mind, where does it tip? Genius. That's all you need to do. There's no winners on April Genius. No. Felicity Award.
Can we go to Rhea? Because now that you said the scales, I don't know.
We're going to Rhea.
Okay, well, I'm seeing the scales. And it's interesting, even though she was rampantly homophobic, well, it's a form of hatred. It's a form of hatred. It's not even phobic, is it?
It's a hate crime.
It's a hate crime. But she actually ended up helping them in the long run. And I think that sometimes when you have that amount of hate for something, raise it up in people's awareness. And it was because of her hatred that everyone else went, whoa, hang on a minute. Well, actually, we need to defend this. So overall, based on everything else that she's done, I'm going to go genius.
Yeah. But a murder can be a springboard for the change of law. It makes it, I don't agree with that.
What's the change example?
Like
someone can do something vile and it leads to a change of law. So I could run into a shopping centre with a knife, get a knife, and that doesn't.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm putting everything in there. I'm putting in the fact that she intentionally, rightly or wrongly, was doing sex education at a time that we, probably weren't educating much. She was fighting for children's rights.
I'm going to say I cannot, as a queer person, with that amount of homophobic. I think that the policy about child pornography is extraordinary and historical, and I appreciate that. And then I do not think it outweighs the rest. I'm going to say
she goes on the bollock.
She's going on the nut.
Mary Whitehouse is voted genius. Not unanimously, but nonetheless genius. Thank you so much. What an amazing episode. Thank you very much, dear Lena, Rebecca Savage, Felicity Ward. But thank you for listening to Evil Genius from BBC Radio 4. If you're looking for more, you can listen to all our past episodes of BBC Sounds. If you don't like it, I've got suggestions. Draw a little picture of me and put it on your testicles, or over it, shove it right up there, ladies. Walk out and see how you feel. Hello! I'm Sean Hughes, and I'm using something like my new Sounds of Radio 4 podcast, Your Place or Mine. The travel show is going nowhere. I get to stay on my comfy sofa talking to you fine people, and excellent guests join us, bringing their stories about the best bits of the planet right here.
Were you one of those people secretly delighted by at least some aspects of the lockdown, then?
Maybe. And welcome, Lizzie Lawrence, our resident voice of reason, travel historian and geography.
Hello. You do know the guests are going to try very hard to convince you to go to these places, Sean?
Well, it's probably not going to happen. Sweaty tropics and polluting long-haul flights, no thanks.
Oh, this is going to be interesting then.
It's going to be fun. To join us in our trip around the world with the comfort of your very own sofa, subscribe to Your Place or Mine on BBC Sounds.
the people that came, that's what it became to be about. Like, one guy was agoraphobic, and then for a while he wouldn't come into the gig. He'd just wait in his car outside, and then eventually he came in, and then just seeing a lot of them that would speak, and now they speak because it is a lot of their only social event they go to. So I feel like it's like a little, to just a few people, just like it's become like a little community.
There's hope for us yet, just. I'm listening to Dominic Locks for now.
Sorry.
No. Fantastic point, well made. Move on to them below 2.
Oh,
It's good to know that one of us is making it. If anyone wants to get my fart jokes, it's available for Talbot. Thank you.
Episode 2, Violent Beliefs. When, on September 15th, news came of the bombing of Birmingham's 16th Street Baptist Church, killing 4 young African-American girls who had just got out of Bible camps. Simone's first impulsive act, she recalled, was to try and make a zip gun with tools from her garage. I had it in my mind to go out and kill someone, she wrote. I didn't know who, but someone I could identify as being in the way of my people.
I mean, it's eerily close to something horrific that came out of Liam Neeson's mouth a while back after someone confined him sexually assaulted. He said, my immediate reaction was, did she know who he was? What colour were they? When the woman said that her attacker was black, Neeson was a shooter. I famously said he sort of went about the streets and black areas and see them for a random person. Black areas was a
I just like it as Black Baby's house.
I know someone before to Italian. No, but I mean, it's obviously an irrational, angry reaction. We could forgive it if it was said in the heat of the moment. I mean, the way she tells it, she was sort of running around the house grabbing tools, and a fella said, "Come on, use your way of fighting back." When people say stuff like that, we've got to take with a pinch of salt whether they actually got a bag of tools and was really going to do it. I like the way she greeted Martin Luther King. I mean, imagine the first time we meet Martin Luther King. Say hello, not I'm Nina. She went, I am not non-violent. That was her first word. And he went, okay.
I think it's really important to understand the context. Like, it wasn't just one act. This was the culmination of 2.5 centuries of oppression. I like the fact that she went to make a gun and she just get like a stone and throw it at someone. She's like, I must construct it. It was like MacGyver. It's not just one. Thank God she decided to make stuff so she should calm down a bit. And get like calm. By the time
I put the trigger on, I actually calmed down to the after process.
I think I just sort of think it's a total, it's a sadly rational reaction to another senseless act of violence. The hatred of black people by white Americans in this time is so irrational. Like he said, she's like, you're not black, why? I don't know. So it's totally irrational to build a gun. And also, when you think about the terror, the way people just sort of orchestrated against blacks, so innocent people just trying to go about their business, you can very easily see how someone might think, and she did say that one time I think she even pulled out a gun on someone. Enough is enough. There's only so much as a human being you can take of, because they only see what this race is doing, but not what this race has done to generations of people.
But what about some of the tactics, though, Jan? She wanted to poison reservoirs. That's not just going to poison.
That's straight up terrorism. That's straight up terrorism.
I know. I don't think reservoirs discriminate as far as I know. Water doesn't pour out. Nah, these are shit. We ain't getting water from there. Everyone drinks in the reservoir. I mean, that's terrorist. She was adamant. Terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, again, she's thinking of things that are quite difficult to achieve because first of all she has to find the reservoir and find then find the poison. I don't know how to say it. Happens to everyone. Happens to everyone. Just so you know. It's wrong. That's why it's illegal and it must. If you wash in it or something, if you've got leprosy, you don't have leprosy.
I don't link that up with sponsors in my view.
Yeah, but just say that. To cure racism.
Yeah. If you fight in the water, you'll be racist.
I was just going to a reservoir to piss me up.
Yeah. But then, yeah.
But what's in your piss? That wouldn't kill people.
No,
I quite well hydrated.
The point is, it shows. Everything you said is true. We have to be careful. It's hard not to be too emotional. We're trying to get to the and there's worrying violent tendencies there. Are we saying because of the time she lived in these awkward racial politics, or can we start to nudge towards saying she's violent per se? She loved quoting the last poet's poem, "Are you ready to smash white things?" Are you ready to kill if necessary to black audiences? Now, we're not trying to take away from the anger and the wrong that was done, but it's never going to help anyone to send a group of people out killing other people. It's normally not the right solution. Nothing wrong with the process. We don't have any Pankhurst in the series. Smashing windows, cutting telegraph communication lines, things like that, yes. Are you ready to go and kill?
I think in another context, then you probably would be able to say, yeah, perhaps that was a big act. But when you're watching black young men being lynched and climbed to trees and stuff like that, the grotesque violence of white America is just inexcusable. And the thing is, we are who we are because of what is around us. And I don't know that she could actually remove herself from that environment where she sees all she sees is death and horror. And if I'm put in the same situation, I may have those thoughts. Obviously, in that context, I don't think it is irrational for her to have thoughts because she's thinking, you're mass murdering my two brothers.
Yes, but she's calling to action, poison reservoirs, telling black audiences on the educational level would go out and kill. She's not the one that's good. It's one of those 16-year-old boys that's overexcited and goes and does a crime. She's not going to be held as a hero.
Are we holding black people to higher moral expectations than the actions of white America? Because white Americans, if they rationalized in that way, they would not be bombing anyone. And so why would she act any differently, act with grace, whereas the American response would be bomb the shit out of that country?
I'm fighting a losing battle here. Before we move on to episode 3, which I think I can get a win on. What do you think of this?
I do that.
Because no one is what Jan was saying. The rational mind can see what's going on. But to start issuing calls to action, to poison reservoirs, should have poisoned everyone, black, white, whoever, telling people all G'd up by music, go out and kill. We're not dismissing why she had those thoughts. We're just arguing, was that a wise choice in someone with such a power?
I genuinely think it would be interesting to see whether, because she had bipolar, and I've got bipolar, I'm not, in the habit of poisoning reservoirs, but...
Should nice cover story up the Indian plan.
So I was like, I do think I make changes. and I think if she was...
That's not what I expected to hear. I'm in the habit of making changes. Is that my last?
Sorry. I think if she was medicated, it would probably be a different story. I think the crashes were, of course, it's horrific, but I think, I guess we don't know, because she didn't do any of it, did she? She fired the gun.
She did issue calls to action. She did incite violence, as far as I know. She didn't actually poison reservoirs. She did attend meetings saying it's
It's not enforced in America, but in Liberia. Because the Americans in Liberia completely oppressed the actual native Liberians. And she lived it up. She enjoyed the life of those elites who behaved worse than white people against the natives of Liberia. That is my bone to pick with her, because she was an activist for rights for black people, but yet went to Liberia and lived the life of Riley, exactly the exact same thing to the locals of Liberia. That was my only battle that I.
Funny enough, Jamie, until she ran out of money, and then suddenly was an activist again and back on the road doing protests. So are we casting a slight doubt over the truth of her How can you switch it off? Go on holiday to Siberia and
she was exhausted. She didn't. I can kind of relate to how she felt. A few years ago, when they gave the Oscar and they said, "Oh, the Oscar Best Picture is La La Land," I was ready to incite violence, and they said, "No, it's Moonlight, it's Moonlight," and I was like, "Okay, cool, I'll calm down." But in that moment, I thought, "Wow." So I think she didn't incite. Did anybody do anything?
No,
is there any evidence?
To be fair, no.
Yeah, so no harm was done. I think it's difficult. Right. It's commendable to be in that environment and say, "Oh, just go on a march, guys," rather than do violence. So
okay, fine. Let's crack open envelope 3 and see if any harm is done.
I'm reading this out.
I don't read English. Oh no! Physically violent towards her daughter. I came home and she was waiting for me with a branch of a tree, she says. I got such a beating and was left with a black eye. She used to look at me before she hit me and say, "You better cry."
Yeah. This is from Simone's diary. Inside I'm screaming. Someone help me, but the sound isn't audible, like screaming without a voice. She was, as Harry's already said, diagnosed with bipolar disorder in the late 1980s. Now this does explain her mental health problems. And I'm not about to argue that Nina Simone was only her bipolar. It both depersons you and lets you off the hook. People are still a person underneath. I know this sounds a little bit offensive, but let me come from a place of knowledge. She may have been an arsehole with an illness.
Yeah.
Right? It can happen. Are we going to let her off the hook?
I know she was in an abusive marriage, so she had, and her daughter would have witnessed some of that violence. It's not letting her off the hook, it's understanding the context within which she had to behave.
Yeah, totally with you. I'll just stop. Obviously keen to hear Harriet's opinion she's got on this one. You've got the most knowledge in this area. And it's also, you said you're yourself diagnosed with bipolar disorder, so you know what she's going through. I know it's an impossible thing to do, to just humour our listeners.
Yeah.
How far can we pull apart the behaviour from the illness? And how easy is it just to say someone is their mental illness and there is no person?
I can only go from when I've done awful things and not sort of seen this mist of being an erasure and stuff, and then when I'm now I'm medicated and just completely fine and a totally different person, so I can go from that. But then it is so difficult because we'd never condone being violent to a child, definitely not. But I think on what you were saying about she was sort of in the way that I had quite an abusive sort of situation when I was younger, and then I think a lot of that bubbled up before, because I was diagnosed with bipolar quite late in life, and it was sort of quite dismissed, and then when I did know that that's what I had, it sort of became a lot clearer, and I would just fly off the handle and a completely different person really, and so I do really get it.
So I tell you why, it's just a question I've got to ask, because, and also we should probably say, as far as I can tell with Nina Simone, she had a pretty good childhood. Her mum and dad backed her, they ran around everywhere, they made sacrifices for her education. Yes, she was in an abusive relationship when she was in her 20s and 30s. No one's taken away from her from that. But when you're talking about when her brain was developing, when she was growing, I can't find any evidence of abuse there.
As someone who was beaten in the same way, my father exactly did that to me. He would beat you until basically the stick completely disintegrated, and until you're covered in blood. There's something I think fundamentally wrong with someone to be able to beat their kid to that degree, and just screaming, cry. Yeah. I would say there's something almost sadistic on that level. I mean, just speaking of my own experience, and also being a mother, beating your kids to an extent where they're covered in blood, there's just something in there. And I'm a great fan of Nina Simone and, everything she's done. But there's a little thing in me that is sort of just listening to Lisa talking about the violence that she experiences now. Yeah. That also brought out the pain that I still hold from my childhood.
And just, we have to be really careful here. No one is saying Nina equal because she has mental health. I'm not saying that. We're just trying in an intelligent way, if it's possible, to pick apart the different strands that make up this amazing It's hard. I mean, there are no answers. There are only our opinions. What do you think? You got your take?
And you know what? I don't think children should be beaten. I don't believe in that as a form of discipline. However, lots of parents have beat their children. Lots of us. I mean, your case is extreme. It's not the same. My mum was beating up some daffodils because I was late for something, and it was Mother's Day, so she had daffodils that I gave her. So she just started beating.
Yeah, and Lisa Simone wasn't just smacking or spanking. Proper violence.
It was violence. So I am still forgiving and understanding of her circumstances.
I suppose we're going to have to all defer to Harriet on this one. Just on this particular aspect. If you were a gambling lady and had to push your chips on, that's just a bit of an arsehole with an illness. Or, no, sorry, that's the illness. You had to. I know you can't.
Like, when I've been awful and done awful things, I think, maybe I'm a bit of a dick. Like, you just don't know, do you? You just don't know where it ends and the dickness begins. Really.
That is the quote of the whole series. I don't think that's just Nina. When does it end and when does the dickness begin? Even Genius, all 3 series.
It's difficult, but I'm still, I don't know, there's something in it, I'm still inclined to think.
You can't win because if you say it's the illness, then we're saying people with mental health issues
Yeah.
are people with their own